run the ball more, and then run the ball some more just to make sure you knew you ran the ball. That was the motto today as the Redskins took a win out in California. Stay tuned. The Hogstad's going to go over the whole game because it wasn't all just power run and fun.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is Alex here in place of Sean, who somehow couldn't watch the game living out in the West Coast area, or Denver area, or wherever he is. I guess they're playing the Cowboys, so that probably, was the more important game where he was living. But with me, we got Steve Thomas and Jamual Forrest. So, guys, what did you think of the game?
Well, somebody start singing "Handle the Redskins" because we got our first victory of the year. Thank God.
I found the.
I meant sing, not beep it.
Hey, I found the perfect title for this episode.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jamual Forrest is never wrong. Don't ever doubt him. I think we could trim it down, find a better way to say it. But I just want to point it out.
Jamal is never wrong. How about that?
But I just want to point out, man. Look, I understand people's all doom and gloom with this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not, this ain't something for me to be optimistic for the season. We still have to see how it goes. But look, man, I seen this one coming a mile away, and I'm just so grateful that they came through for me, so I can gleefully boast about how this game turned out.
Look, man, see, I was positive about the game before last week, but after they laid such an egg, I just couldn't get there, I wanted to predict a win. I just couldn't bring myself to do it.
I understand that, Steve. I was in the same boat. I needed them to win. I had a rough day yesterday. I don't want to go into it on the show, but I've told you, Steve, what happened.
And the win definitely is a small
upside
help
for me because if they had lost, I would just be almost on suicide watch at this point. But
let's hope not. You don't get that far.
No. But guys, let's go over the offense first. Let's get into this thing because Steve, your number one gripe for I don't know what has it been. 4 years, maybe even more than that, because, I don't know.
As long as you've known me,
as I've
pretty
known
much.
You always complain the Redskins don't run the ball enough. You wouldn't be happy if they threw the ball only 4 times in a game. You'd think they need to run the ball more.
Probably not. That's probably true.
Steve wants the option.
Well, here's what.
But let's go over those numbers, because I think these are Steve's happy numbers.
I'm in my happy place right now. Okay, Kirk Cousins on the day was 18 for 27 for 156 yards, 6.6 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 2 sacks, quarterback rating of 97.6, and say it all together with me, the Redskins ran the ball.
Run the ball.
The Redskins were 39 carries, 229 yards as a team, 5.9 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns. The long of 61 yards came courtesy of Chris Thompson. Rob Kelly, the starter, was 12 for 78 for 6.5 yards per catch before he went out with an injury, apparent rib injury. Samaje Perine came in relief, was 21 of 67 for 3.2 yards per carry. And let me tell you something, the 3.2 yards per carry was only because of his last couple carries.
Yeah.
It wasn't pretty.
Well, not the last 3, but that last series or so.
You're right, the last series, right. Chris Thompson was 3 for 77. The bulk of those yards came on a 61-yard touchdown. Receiving-wise, Jordan Reed was the leading receiver, 6 receptions, 48 yards. James Crowder, 4 for 47. Terrell Pryor, 2 for 31. 4 total targets for him. He had the big catch there in the penultimate drive.
Right. Other than that, he had a pretty bad day.
Yeah, he did. Chris Thompson, 3 for 29. Josh Doxson, I just wanted to get out there. He was a big 0 for 0, but he did have a target this time.
It went about 5 feet over his head.
Good for him. The ball went to him. So that is the Redskins' offense. Impressions. What's everybody's first impression about this offense?
Alex, you got it.
Well, I mean, obviously you gotta take a win and just be happy with a win at some level, but
a win is a win.
A win is a win is a win, right? But we've had far too few of them in the last 20 years. We're still struggling with the outside receivers, like I kind of think we all knew we would.
We were all hoping that wouldn't be the case, but the fact of the matter is we are.
You know, hopefully that comes later in the year. That's all you can do is kind of hope that after 4 or 5 real games, Pryor gets clicking, Doxson gets clicking. Wishful thinking on saying Garcon, right?
Yeah, right.
But, you know, the inside guys are getting the job done for now, and it's kind of going to be relying on that for a while, I think.
Well, look, here's the thing about the passing game. I went back and rewatched all 22 of every pass this past week. You know, the outside guys, the X, Pryor, he's not getting open downfield. No. He's just not, you know, which is a little surprising to me. And yeah, Kirk's probably a little gun shy, you know, as a result of what happened last week. But it's basically been all West Coast offense all the time with this team. And, I mean, that'll work for a little bit, but we do need to go downfield in order for the passing game to open up some. Sure. You don't have to be Cam Newton in the Panthers and just constantly, you know, strikes down the field all the time. But at some point or another, they're going to have to try a few of them. We only had 2 real deep balls this game.
And one of them was on a penalty, I think, wasn't it? Or something. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, correct. Mm-hmm. And the other one really was the Pryor catch, and that was a lot of yak.
Right. You mean his second catch where he basically – the one thing he can do well, he can do that whole stop and turn to the quarterback and just catch a ball straight at him. Anything in motion, he's dicey on. He reminds me a lot of Rod Gardner in that respect.
I think he's better than
Rod Gardner. Overall, yes, but Gardner couldn't catch a slant route to save his life, I feel like.
But listen, I mean, you know, we knocked Cousins, but the fact of the matter is he executed a game-winning drive, and I got to give him credit for that.
And, hey, he even hit, you know, the much-maligned Ryan Grant, and I say much-maligned by me. You know, he hit Grant for a big touchdown. That was Grant's only catch.
That was a good throw,
famous Cousins to Grant connection. I love it.
Jamal's cheering.
But well, I guess I'll go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think that the thing about this offense, and Steve actually said it too, like it wasn't pretty by any means. After, you know, the first half, it wasn't pretty. Overall, I think Cousins. Now, I know people have issues with these type of things, and I'm sick of these Cousin arguments. I'm sick of them. But the one thing that people feel, well, I shouldn't say feel, but the one thing that will go on the wayside because of Cousins having a bad game is that prior to so much dysfunctional or sloppy play in the passing game, Chris Thompson, I think we came out of the half. He dropped the angle route.
Yeah. That
he
one
dropped the angle route. That was
a touchdown.
Yeah, it would have been a touchdown if he caught it. That's prior to all of the, you know, the sloppy play and inability to gain yards in the second half. It was just like that was a play that could have been had and could have kept the momentum going offensively. Mm-hmm. With that being said, Kirk Cousins was shaky again. And a lot of timidness, anxious play, antsy is what Jay Gruden called it in the preseason. He's still looking like that. And in certain situations where you need your offense to get going, it shouldn't take a game-winning drive, even though he did come through in the clutch. And also the running game helped him. It's something that doesn't really need to be had if you handle business prior to that. The running game disappeared. That was unfortunate.
Yeah.
Which obviously put the game on Cousins' shoulders for a bit. But they got back to the running game late, you know, and helped them out. But overall, offensively for me, I think it was just too inconsistent. They had a hell of a first half. And in the second half, they just failed to capitalize on things. They got Dustin Hopkins in position to kick a makeable field goal.
Yeah, 51, 52 yards.
51. Yeah.
51. It was just makeable, yeah. But I can't blame him too much.
Anything over 50
is not
a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee for Dustin, but he had the leg. Like in 2015, it was makeable for him. Now 2016, he's been inconsistent, and he starts off this year with his first 50 yards. He's missing it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the running game. Game because to me that's more important than Dustin Hopkins missing a 51-yard field goal. Rob Kelly really got it rolling today, and the biggest thing I noticed is number one, he wasn't getting hit in the backfield. I thought there were times when he was, sort of expecting it and kind of ran like that. But he had rushing lanes, huge rushing lanes in some cases, and he was able to capitalize on it. Now, there's a whole crowd of people out there who listen to us and follow us and tweet at us about Samaje Perine. The simple fact of the matter is that Samaje Perine didn't look as good as Rob Kelly today. I said it earlier, the 3.2 yards per catch
or per carry
got up to that point. Yeah, got up to that point as a result of his last few carries in that last series. I thought Rob Kelly looked more decisive. He was able to hit the holes better. I think this is it should end the who should be the starting running back, at least for a time being, because Kelly if he's healthy, was clearly a better back today.
Well, my issue with Kelly and people, a lot of people can say that he was the better back, and that's obvious. Statistically, he was the better back, but early on, throughout the game before his injury, he was missing simple reads as the ball carrier. Personally, I seen him. It was two huge runs that was actually made by the offensive line, in my opinion. It wasn't made by Kelly, but two huge runs in which he made the wrong decision to cut inside instead of bouncing the run outside for well over 10 plus yards. He would have gained at least more. So I think that Kelly had a good. It was more so like, all right, put it this way. It was like the Philly game. I think it was the Philly game at home last year with Matt Jones, where I want to say that was the game, but that was the Philly game last year with Matt Jones, where he was having great success, but he could have had even more if he read his blocks and he read the open field, read the field better. And that's the type of game I thought that Rob Kelly had this year. This week, sorry.
Nobody's going to mistake him for O.J. Simpson, but I'm just, I'm a results person. The simple fact of the matter is he's getting better results.
He is, and I think, but I do think that it does have something to do with the run blocking, especially in the first half.
Oh, of course it does.
They were doing a lot more pulling of the guards, and heck, Morgan Moses pulled all the way to the far side of the field on one of those big runs. And I don't feel like we did that last week. I think if you're going to be the Redskins and they don't use a great blocking tight end or a fullback most of the time, you need to have one of these linemen pull and kind of be that lead blocker almost every time you do a good run. And,
Not with the zone scheme, though. The zone scheme isn't designed that. The zone scheme, you cut back against the grain.
But Jay wants to be a power team still. And, if you want to be a good power team, I think you need to pull those guys.
I don't know if Jay does want to still be a power team, though. We still do run quite a bit of zone. We still do quite a bit of zone
exclusively
blocking.
One or the other anymore, anyway. But
No.
but
he has been doing more power runs this year, I think, than he did before, though.
And in terms of Samaje, the numbers are okay in the end, 67 yards, but and 21 carries. That he took a bulk of the work.
Samaje had 21. Wow.
21 carries. Yeah. That's a lot of the workload for a running back in any given game these days.
Yeah, I cut him some slack because this is his first pro game in terms of like in the regular season, but like Steve said too, it wasn't impressive. He had a few runs that broke him, that helped his average, but I give him some slack because he wasn't even. I doubt he was probably going to get more than 10 if Rob Kelly came.
Yeah.
So.
And Kelly was headed towards a 130-yard game.
Yeah, he was.
I think the one thing you got to do with Samaje Perine is kind of watch that film and say, all right, see these plays where the guy kind of hits you with your arm and you fall over? You can't do that here. There were way too many times he got arm tackled, it felt like.
I don't want to argue with the people who point out that Perine has the big, huge college resume. He does. And you guys out there who think you're running back experts, okay, fine. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. We've never pretended to be a running back expert. But I think for this team this year, right now, the way to go is to have Rob Kelly have the bulk of the carries. Maybe someday in the next year, maybe 2 years, at some point in time, Samaje probably will be lead back. But I think today showed that at a bare minimum he's not ready.
No, he's not ready right now.
That's the point.
Use him as a backup. I think he's a very serviceable number 2 guy behind Kelly.
Right.
Because you don't want Chris
Poor
Thompson
Mac
to
Brown.
do those, up the gut runs.
Yeah. And I'll just say poor Mac Brown.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I
True.
feel bad for him. He's got talent.
I
like
do too,
Mac
but
Brown.
wasn't he?
Okay.
He was not active today, right?
Yeah,
No, he was
inactive.
not
Okay.
active. Can we talk about the tremendously successful game that Josh Doxson had today? I was very impressed. Well, no,
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Oh, man.
He didn't do anything.
Well, no, he got overthrown in a fade route. That's what he did.
I'd like to point out, by the way, that the 2 fade route, I thought it was appropriate to try one of them. But 2 fade routes in a row, and then you throw the next one to the shortest guy on the team. I mean, in Chris
Granted,
Thompson.
Chris Thompson is probably
crazy.
one of our best weapons. You don't use him on a fade route. It made no
I'm not gonna
sense.
lie. I need some guidance with that one, honestly, because I'm not sure, and I'm being completely serious here. I'm not sure that was a fade, because from the one to Thompson,
Yeah.
because from what I saw on the sideline, Gruden was pissed off at Cousins.
Well, I'll
I
tell
don't know
you
what
why.
he was saying, but he was All right, why?
Because Jamison
ahead.
Crowder on that same play was open right underneath. He kind of like came in underneath through the center of the line, and he was wide open in the end zone for an easy dump off pass for a touchdown.
We'll have to
Okay.
go watch
Yeah.
that one on all 22.
Our
Yeah.
buddy Mark
what's going
Bullock
on.
pointed that out on Twitter pretty quickly, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, Cousin
Okay.
really
All
blew
right,
this
yeah.
one."
Because I was like,
So it was a misread then.
because it didn't look it like Cousins. I mean, Thompson's route looked like he was. It was some type of miscommunication because
He was looking
Cousins
over
threw
the
the
wrong
fade.
shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah, Cousins threw a fade. Like the ball was looking like a fade to Thompson, but at the same time, Thompson broke it to an out. So it's like, what?
Yeah.
I'm kind of confused. I'm not sure if it was supposed to be a fade or out route. So that's why.
And I think that the fade patterns become the fans' thing to hate the
Sure.
most. And I understand that because it never works. It's just like,
I wanted to make a whole T-shirt.
it's beating
about
your head
it,
against
but
it's like beating your head against a brick wall because we throw it constantly and they never complete it ever. And so I understand the frustration.
Yeah, I understand it. It's football, man. It's a football play that you're gonna run it in the red zone. Now I understand we don't we
don't do it
we
well.
are terrible
We
at
don't
it.
run. We don't run in the red zone.
I'm saying we don't. You run it in the red zone. I'm talking about
Yeah.
running the fade, not run the ball.
Yeah.
But
We don't run the ball in the red zone either.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm just I'm just saying. So like, it's a football play. I'm not mad at the play, but I'm just mad that we can't execute. It's just terrible.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. The one to Doxson, good move. You want to throw a fade in the end zone, throw the ball to the guy with the biggest catch
Yeah.
radius.
Yeah.
That seems like pretty good.
Now,
Kirk Cousins just
granted,
stinks at
that
it.
was
He
just a
just
bad
can't
throw.
do it.
Like I don't
Yeah,
think
well,
I don't
he
think
didn't
Randy
give
Moss
Dawson
could
a
have caught
chance.
that ball.
Nope.
No,
He didn't give Dawson a chance.
Godzilla couldn't have caught that ball. Okay. You could have Godzilla back there, and he would have not been able
Right.
to get
It
it.
was just a bad throw. And I think
Yeah,
that's
so,
the
I
key,
mean-
key issue we have. Kirk does not put an accurate fade ball in.
So I would just like to say to Jay, if you're listening, and I know you are, that you don't have to stop it, but you got to stop doing it so
Right.
much. A fade to the corner fade in the end zone every once in a while, fine. But if you haven't noticed, Jay, you never complete those passes ever. And so let's stop doing it.
Something like one
all
for
the
40
time.
in his career, calling
Yeah,
it for
right.
the Kirk Cousins-led Redskins.
And frankly, I mean, the fact that the Redskins didn't get a touchdown in that possession sort of killed the momentum for
It
the
really
game.
did for a
You know,
little while. At
Yeah,
least,
because-
definitely did.
It-
Because that was
yeah,
off the fumble, I believe, too.
Yeah.
The
It
Gurley
was.
fumble.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they would have been up. It changed the complexion of the game because we did that. So, Jay's not going to listen. He is who he is. But I am impressed though. That they committed themselves to the run game and they stuck with it.
Yep.
That was what impressed me because I've got the run pass balance for every quarter. They were 10 runs, 6 passes in the first quarter, 20 and 15 at the half, 29 and 23 in the third quarter, and then they finished the game 39 and 27. So, I mean, they committed to it and they stuck to it, and shock of shocks, they ran the ball well. And this is the Rams' defensive line is no joke either.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be good against
Well,
the run.
and I mean, let's be honest. Part of what happened to the Redskins in the second half was that the Rams were really starting to come down on the run harder with Kelly out. They were clearly just trying to load the box to stop Pirine, and they were being successful at it for a lot of the game. But anyway, maybe we should move on, though, because we're about halfway through the show, and start talking about our defense versus the Rams' offense. And, well, I thought they played pretty well, but why don't you guys tell me...
Let me read some numbers.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Tell me kind of, what am I missing? Because it seems like this got a little too close.
Okay. First of all, I didn't do the We'll do the Rams offense because I didn't do that. Jared Goff, 15 and 25, 224 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 sacks, 86.1 quarterback rating
at the end.
And then 1 interception. Johnny Hecker got one pass in, who is the punter. That counts towards passing stats. As a team, they rushed for 21 carries, 92 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. Todd Gurley was 16 of 88. And let me tell you, he had in the first half, he was terrible. He had a couple long runs there that saved his day statistically. And I think I cursed us because I tweeted that, and the very next play was Todd Gurley for about 18 yards. So I take the blame for that. Yeah, it happens. Gerald Everett was 3 receptions, 95 yards. Todd Gurley was 3 for 48. Cooper Kupp was 3 for 33. It kind of goes down from there. Now, on defense, the superhero of the day for us was Zach Brown again. 10 tackles, 8 solo, and he was injured and came back. Josh Norman, 6 tackles, 6 total, 5 solo. Mason Foster, 6 total, 3 solo, and the 1 big interception there at the end. Sacks-wise, Preston Smith got a sack. Ryan Kerrigan got a sack. And that was Redskins' defense.
Yeah.
So, what do we think,
did you have the 2 forced fumbles in there?
I didn't read that off.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yes, we had the forced fumble. Josh Norman had the one.
Kerrigan had one, but it was recovered by the other team. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, look, from defense-wise, I mean, Zach Brown doesn't – it's too early. I was about to say if Zach Brown doesn't get to the Pro Bowl, there's a problem, but it's only getting 2.
Fair enough.
I expect Zach Brown to be in the Pro Bowl at the end of this year because he looks like every bit of what we expected. And, he ran down that tight end on the long – on the line.
It was a slower version of the whole Darryl Green chasing down
Yeah, it was a linebacker and a tight end instead of Eric Dickerson.
Right, so it's not the same speed, but it was still very impressive.
It was the same kind of general setup.
By the way, can we talk about that play? What happened there? Why was listen, I rag on Foster a lot, but you can't expect him to cover 2 people. What?
I think
somebody blew it big time there.
I think the situation Mason Foster was stuck in, like you just said, it was two people he had to defend. It was the running back and
the tight end,
and then the tight end. But his eyes was on what he did. He cheated, I think. In my opinion, I think he cheated because I think he was supposed to be checking the tight end, and when he saw the running back, he was like, "I'm gonna beat Goff's pass to the running back, and I'm gonna try and lay the running back out." But Goff clearly held on to the ball a little bit longer, like he's supposed to.
Right.
And
Took
then
advantage.
the tight end, he ended up getting free. So I think the running back was supposed to stay open. I don't know whose assignment that was. I wouldn't know that right now,
Right.
but I think Mason Foster's assignment was the tight end, and he let him go, trying to cheat and take the running back.
I think you're exactly right, and that's another one. We'll have to look at the all-22
I'm
but
curious to go.
I
back
think
and
that's
look at
exactly
that,
what happened.
That was just a bad design.
Well, and more to the point, I mean, if you have 2 people in your zone like that, I would default to the outside guy because you're going to have a safety high at a minimum, and you're going to have another linebacker there who can maybe help out. So we'll have to watch it again. But my thought is that Mason Foster kind of blew it and
but he also kind of got screwed on the, he shouldn't be expected to cover both guys.
We'll have more on that later in the week once we look at it.
Were there any other plays that immediately come to your guys' mind I mean, obviously the big interception at the end where Foster redeems himself, but
yeah. Oh, and speaking of Foster and Josh Norman, honestly, we need to give them some credit. The injury report came out with Mason Foster. He was playing with a dislocated shoulder. Do
you have the whole injury report right now?
Not the full injury report. So I do, because before we started our show, Jay Gruden was talking about Josh Norman had a AC joint sprain. Wow. So did Monte Nicholson. Mason Foster had a dislocated shoulder, and he came back in. Obviously,
Kelly's got ribs.
Kelly had a rib contusion, maybe a fracture. So those are the injuries that I heard. But Mason Foster dislocated his shoulder, popped it back in, then came back out. Mm-hmm. So that game
which was like, holy crap, by the way. Can you imagine that?
Right, exactly. So
in case you guys think you can play pro football,
these guys go
pop your shoulder out and back in.
Right.
I've never done it. I've definitely seen many people do it, and half the time they almost black out.
And I've experienced it. So from what I understand, because the AC joint sprain is when your shoulder actually pops out, but it comes back in on its own. And
right.
I've experienced that when I was a kid playing football. And it sucks, but a dislocated shoulder, I've never been through that, like where it was dislocated and they put it back in. So
Mel Gibson can do it. The lethal, from the Lethal Weapon movies.
Right. And Wesley Snipes in Blade did it.
Yeah, it was insane.
And then Mason Foster did it for real.
I did have a family friend. He popped his shoulder out water skiing, which as white as you can be. And then he literally went and popped it back in on a tree the same way that you see those guys doing it in the movies. Like you just push your shoulder against a tree and pop it back in.
Well, maybe he needs to play for
Well, he's probably 70 now.
But like we were saying, it's not necessarily a play that stood out, but it was a trend. Mm-hmm. And it's actually 2 weeks in a row now. For some reason, and I was never able to rewatch the games. Like I missed the show last week because I had something to take care of, and I missed basically the first.
We all have lives.
2 quarters. Yeah, so I was like, I never got to finish watching the game like I planned on. But then this week, the same thing that I saw in the second half of last week's game kept going on. And the issue that I see a lot is the fact that the running backs. This week was the running backs. Last week it was the tight ends as well as the running backs. But they slip free, and whoever it is losing their assignment. They don't know what their assignment is. Todd Gurley ends up free, or the tight end ends up running free. And it's in the flats, by the way.
Right.
Flats that should be like a 5-yard game at most turns out to be 10 to 12, maybe even longer. This week it was longer. It was 20 yards. It was 50 yards with the tight end on the sideline. It was so much. So that's one of the trends that I saw. Like I don't know who's blowing their assignments, and I don't know who's being slow off the ball at the snap of the ball, but it's annoying.
By the way,
I don't know
Breland is going to have that film to live down for at least the rest of the season where he got hurt.
He's going to be on a poster.
Todd Gurley jumping over him.
He's going to be on a poster.
Yeah, and I feel bad for the guy because I feel like that's not as easy of a tackle to make as they try and make it seem.
Well, he wasn't the only one that Gurley did that to today.
Yeah.
Gurley jumped over 2 people. He kind of has a history of that sort of thing. He's athletic. He's been a disappointment as a player since 2015, but today he kind of made up for it with 130 something yards.
Shocker, Jeff Fisher ran a guy into the ground. Like that's what he kind of does with running backs.
Yeah. No, but to Jamal's point, it's something I've noticed too. The Redskins give up a lot of underneath throws. They give up a lot of throws in the flats. I don't know if it's the defense, if it's the player, if it's what, but that's a weakness.
Yeah.
It seems to me they don't do a good job of getting incompletions on those short passes to the flats. And they do tend to turn some of those plays into 10, 15 yard plays.
I mean, because so often we do have our outside guys, Kerrigan and Smith and Collette and whoever, rushing the passer rather than covering. But,
Yeah, it's frustrating. I think more so when it comes to the flats and when it comes to tight ends and running backs, I personally think it has a lot to do with the inside linebackers.
Yeah, it does.
Mason Foster and Jack Brown. Like I said, I'm not in the meetings. I'm not sure what their play call goes for, but I do think I think that it's definitely one of those two responsibilities to be checking the people that are ended up free and unchecked most of the time.
Well,
so
and I know
I
last
just don't
week
know
I
what it is.
put a lot of it on Foster. This week I don't know if I could say it was quite as much on him, but he's probably the weaker link between the two.
I'd just like to also, by the way, point out that we had a Terrell McLean sighting.
We did.
Today. You guys catch? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
he got
fumble
the
recovery.
Yeah, so he is on the team.
Oh man.
Well, I mean, what else has he done? I mean, come on.
Can we also start a Jonathan Allen watch? I mean, I know he had a assist this time, and I know his position is also not one where he's going to make a lot of highlights, but I was a little hoping for at least 2-3 tackles a game every game.
I didn't even get to him in the stats because he's at the very bottom of the list. He had one tackle.
It wasn't a solo.
No solo tackles.
Yeah.
And one quarterback hit. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean,
he hadn't impressed that much so far. I mean, he hasn't been the disruptive force that we hoped yet, but it's only week 2 for this guy.
Yeah. I'm not flipping out about him like I am Josh Jackson.
Yeah, I'm about to say,
I'm
I
not
got
flipping out about Josh Doxson either.
I am. I don't know what the situation. Like, I'm not like going nuts, but
I'm not mad at him.
just
I'm
don't
mad
know.
at the coaches for not playing him.
Well,
If
we don't know how
Terrell
serious the
Pryor
injury is, though.
Just dropping everything, put somebody else in at this point.
But I mean, we just don't know how serious the injury is. Like they say, it's a hamstring, and that's a delicate, injury for a receiver. But it's in terms of like just the overall situation. I'm not even putting blame on Doxson. I'm not putting blame on the coaching staff. It's just the fact that he cannot get on the field. Not like a coaching decision, but it's like regardless of what we know and what the coaches know, they have a sense that if they put him on the field for an extended period of time,
right,
he may struggle due to the fact that he's dealing with an injury.
Yeah, I haven't seen field counts yet, but I know I saw him at least 5 to 10 plays, but that was probably about it.
Yeah, the Redskins haven't sent him out yet. I'll keep an eye on it before we go off the
they
air.
usually come out like the day after.
Well, the Redskins send us a big package,
Yeah.
and I'll try to keep an eye out for it. Sometimes they have it in there. I did go back and watch all of Doxson's plays last week, and what I saw was he ran a lot of clearing routes. He was a decoy in a lot of those. I can't say that there was maybe one play out of his 18 snaps where I thought he was maybe the most open guy. So I don't think it's a case of, Kirk Cousins is ignoring him, anything like that. He just, either he wasn't the primary read or he just wasn't open. That was what I saw last week.
All right, well, do you guys have any other thoughts to get back to the defense? Any real thoughts about what you saw? Anything you think we need to see them work on?
Well, I do have a general opinion.
Go ahead.
And it's more so they played outside of third downs. Like this week, the third downs was much better than the week before, and I actually expected that. I don't know if I said it on the show or if I said it in an article, but this week they're not facing a Carson Wentz, so I felt like they were going to fare much better on third downs. Even though Goff is a person who has some mobility in the pocket, he's not Carson Wentz. But point is, outside of last week, they played solid defense. Outside of the third downs, third and longs was a problem for them.
Right.
Carson Wentz kept extending plays, so I felt you had to see what they were going to do this week. And this week, they were inconsistent. The first quarter they played great, and then once the momentum, like you felt the momentum shift on our offense, the defense started following suit to match the level of the offensive play, and it was just something where you got to see like, well, we still don't know how good or bad this defense is. And that's just something that I noticed from this game, because Todd Gurley shouldn't have went off the way he did. Every play in the passing game that he took off on was very fixable and defensible. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's very defensible, and so those are the issues that I've seen. I guess we got to keep watching, and it's going to be a problem next week because Oakland's coming to town and they're a juggernaut.
Yeah, they are. Well, I guess Steve, unless you have a final thought on defense, why don't we get to the game balls?
Okay. No, I don't have any more thoughts. I think we've said it, already, and I think Jamal's right. And next week will be a bigger test. It statistically the running backs haven't gone off on us yet. Even with Gurley's improved second half, he didn't have that good a game. But for those couple plays. So, the defensive line has been slightly better, at least in stopping the run. Understanding we've played two bad running teams.
You got his numbers, Steve, and the Rams numbers is what I should say. What's the Rams rushing numbers for today?
Rams rushing numbers for the day are 21 carries, 92 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. And again, Gurley had two very strong runs there in the fourth quarter. Right. Take those away, and you're talking, averages in the low threes.
That one drive where he got the two big runs, you could tell our line was looking gassed at that point. They needed to rotate some guys out there. That's the one thing I think they still need to work on is getting the right guys in the rotation late in the game. All right, well, why don't we get into game balls? Everyone want to do one offense, one defense, kind of what we did last year?
Sure.
Or last week?
Sure.
All right. So I'll give us a start then. My offensive game ball, I don't think this is a surprise because he easily kind of led the offense, and that was Chris Thompson. He had a couple of pretty nice catches. He had those big runs for touchdowns. Chris Thompson gets my offensive ball, no question there. And I'm going to go under the radar on defense. Kendall Fuller's really just impressed me really the last two games with just really good slot corner play. So I'm going to give him a game ball just for, very much improved play on defense.
Who'd have thunk it? Okay, for the sake of variety, I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins for a game ball because, yes, Chris Thompson had the most visibly impressive game, but Cousins did lead the team for the winning drive there in the fourth quarter. We all kind of doubted that he had that in him anymore, so he gets a game ball from me for that.
Builder.
I could give it to Ryan Grant, but I just can't bring myself to do it. For the big catch in the end zone. Defensively, I'm going to give it to Mason Foster, because he had the interception there at the end of the game, and he, the fact that he popped his shoulder back into place and came in the game. I mean, my God,
that is badass.
Yeah, that all by itself.
He should get to wear like a big black leather trench coat in the next game as he walks out on the field just to show how badass he is.
Yep. So there are my two game balls, Cousins and Foster.
So my first game ball goes to Jamal Forrest for predicting this.
You can't give yourself a game ball, man. Come on.
No, I'm just playing. The first one is I'm with Alex. Honest, I thought it was gonna be a clean sweep, to be honest. But Chris Thompson is my guy for very obvious reasons. Without him, I mean, he was a spark plug. And you know what's crazy? We knew Chris Thompson. I think it was a general consensus from all four of us on the Hawks side that Chris Thompson is the best back on the Redskins roster. But like we really never considered Mac Brown a home run hitter over Chris Thompson. And I know for a fact I did. And
I didn't ever consider that.
Yeah, no, I knew Chris Thompson was fast, but you never really seen him. But you never seen a draw or a trap run like him and take it to the house like that. Like you knew he had the speed, but
he would do in a video game. Just the way he was weaving through some of those players.
Yeah, so you never really seen that from him per se. But a lot of people considered Mac Brown maybe. Or you know what? Maybe because Mac Brown is the one that they felt like he can take the 15 or 20 carries a game, and they figured he could be the home run hitter. All right. Point is, Chris Thompson is the guy. Chris Thompson is the guy for the obvious reason. He took the ball to the house. He was the spark plug for this offense. And, I was thoroughly impressed by him, and he continues to improve in every single year in Jay Gruden's offense. So I'm definitely impressed by him today. He is the game ball guy for me on offense. Defensively, it's Mason Foster. And it's not necessarily throughout the game what he did, but it's how he finished it. This offense this defense needed a big play. And truth be told, so did the offense, because in the fourth quarter, you wasn't really doing much. You also needed some help because you guys weren't moving the ball as good as you should have been. They didn't have a third down conversion in the second half since the first quarter on their first drive. So things like that, like you needed a spark plug from your defense to help you seal this victory. Mason Foster came through, won the game on a dislocated shoulder. Dislocated shoulder. So He's my defensive game
He
ball
really
guy.
read that pick perfectly. So
Yeah,
I don't blame you guys for going with. I just feel like I needed to give some love to the most improved.
Oh no, that's
defensive
fair.
back.
He's been looking good the first 2 weeks, so I don't even disagree with it. You can say it, and I'd be cool with it.
I mean, for those of us who called the linebacker situation as Brown and Foster need to be applauded, because I think a lot of people saw that as the best combination, and that's definitely proven to be true. In the first
Even
2
a guy
weeks,
like
at
me
least.
who's a huge Will Compton fan can accept that.
Will Compton hadn't had a tackle
I know.
this year.
Well, yeah, I don't think he's been on the field much.
But I think he's
Not
only on
much.
special teams, and they made the right decision, because a lot of people felt
did.
like Compton was going to see the field because he just knew the plays and he knew the defense. But come on, man, no. If you're a better player and you can play Mike competently, you're going to get on the field. And Mason Foster has proved
They
that.
just got to get him to. They got to work on him with the covering the secondary guys. He's blown a couple big plays there, but that's it.
Yeah, both of them need that work.
Yeah.
Zach and Mason, so it's definitely something they need to work on.
Well, I think that should kind of call it for this show. We're a little over time here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to the post-game review of the Redskins' first win of the season. Keep checking us out on Twitter and on Facebook and on all the other social media that we might or might not be on, because I can't keep track. And guys, I hope but other than that, we'll see you guys midweek.
Peace.
Bye.
Never forget, Maul is always right.